Now, who are you? Let's start with Eva.
So
Introduce
I'm
yourself.
Eva Rose. Yes, I'm Eva Rose, and I'm the president of Nothing But Hemp, and I
Okay.
co-own with Stephen Brown.
And wait a minute, what did you just win? I know you don't want to talk about this, but what did you just win an award?
Oh, I did. Yes.
Oh,
So IFA gave me the top 100 healthcare leaders in the world. So that's pretty exciting.
wow.
Whoop whoop.
I'm
Yeah.
on. I'm honored. And let's talk to your business partners above you. Well, on me, it's above you. You're on the bottom there. So Stephen, go ahead and
Yes,
introduce
yeah.
yourselves.
So my name is Steve Brown. I'm the CEO of Nothing But Hemp. I've been featured on Marijuana Ventures and Ministry of Hemp and NPR as well.
That's awesome. So, you know, we've been working together for what, the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, yeah. at
We
least.
talk every day.
Yep.
Sometimes more than every day.
Yeah, like a couple
Yeah.
times a day.
Yep. Eva and I, we talk a lot too. I mean, this is fun. First question I'm going to ask you. How about Eva? Eva, can you say cannabinoid 5 times fast?
Cannabinoid, 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 cannabinoid.
Oh!
That was 4, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Stephen, can you do it?
Cannabinoid, 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 cannabinoid.
That was it. That was it.
Oh, okay.
No,
Good.
that's garbage. And how about you, Marlo?
Cannabinoid, 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 cannabinoid.
That's awesome.
Features.
Do I get a gold star?
No, you don't get that. I mean, you'll get a free tincture in the mail from Stephen.
Oh, okay.
How much is it?
What is your favorite cannabinoid? Doesn't matter which order you're going.
Ooh, CBG, I would say, is my favorite cannabinoid.
No,
Really?
that's fine. You can't pick the same one.
Oh, but it's the best one.
It is.
It is. I mean, for me, I like to smoke, CBG. I'm not a big fan of smoking CBD, at least for me, but CBG just has a really good feeling. I feel alert off of it. It has that almost sativa feeling, but you're not high. But if you add it to your regular stuff, it definitely enhances it. So that's why, for me, I like it.
Well, and my name's Marlo Brown, and I also like CBG, but I like it more so as an oil for a couple of reasons. I've been taking it a lot during these COVID times, just because I feel like some of the articles that I've read, it's, supposed to help, connect to your receptors and help in a lot of ways for as far as like avoiding,
Viruses.
Yeah, viruses, illness. Even though there's no hard evidence, I just feel like so far, knock on wood, we haven't gotten sick.
Yeah, the science on it's pretty amazing.
But then I also like it because the high, taking it every day helps just keep my migraines away. So that's, might be a little hormonal over here, so that helps sometimes.
And why are you a little hormonal, Marlo?
Yeah, show us why you're hormonal.
Oh, honey, why don't we show live why we're hormonal?
Is that fair? I mean, should we do that? Should we let my followers know before your family? Is that okay?
Oh, it's fine. Triplets. No.
Oh man, he's lying. You can't have triplets. You know what? You're lucky you're gonna have triplets. Okay, Eva, what is your favorite?
I would have to say CBDA is one of my favorites. Just it's got anti-anxiety, mood boosting benefits right now with distance learning and kids home and all of that. And sometimes you just want to, it's amazing. It relaxes me. It works quick. I love the tincture forms. I love the CBDA blends. I'm also a huge fan of CBG, like they said, of course, because it's an enhancer, but I have to say for me, it's CBDA.
So CBDA, if you were to quiz me right now, that would be cannabidiol acid, right?
Yes.
So that's what CBD is before you decarboxylate it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And deals more with that specific serotonin receptor for mood.
So the flavor of CBDA, does it leave like a sting?
There
A
is
little bit.
like a burn almost with it. So yeah, it can leave a little sting with the tinctures.
But it's temporary and it's worth like people say, oh, I can't stand the flavor. I'm like, you know what? Your mom and dad used to make you eat Robitussin.
Yeah.
Right.
And you did like a quarter cup every time, you know what I mean? And now you can't take a 1 ml of an oil. See, in my cannabinoid, my favorite one's changing at daily, I would say, because I don't know, maybe it's just because it's me, but I'm on a Delta 8 kick, maybe because it's the hype, but I use
Yeah.
Delta 8 for sleep because I've been getting a lot of leg pain at night. I could take one or two gummies, Delta 8s in a microdose. If I have too much of it, it's a different level for me.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I like the I like the Delta 8, and now I like the CBG. So okay, let's talk about nothing but hemp, or MBH as you call it, right? MBH it shortens it up. Give me the history of MBH. I don't know how you both want to split this up. Whoever wants to start it, it's going to be a long story. It can be a long story. Don't be afraid to shorten it up. Let's
Yeah.
get
So we started it. I mean, the first concept came to mind. We were out in Nevada and I saw a CBD store, and the CBD store I walked into, they were all wearing scrubs.
But the reason why we walked into it is because
for
I
migraines.
had a really bad migraine while we were there, and I refused to walk into a dispensary because, you know, I have a little halo above my head, and
the stigma.
I didn't do that stuff. And so Steven's like, well, then we should go to a CBD dispensary. But we walked in, it was really medicinal. There was like, all of the workers were in scrubs. There was, there was like crosses, like first aid signs, but in green, and leaves everywhere. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. And we got a few things, and it actually worked for me. And I was impressed because I had a migraine for 2 days, and it knocked it out of the park in 20 minutes. I think I started with an inhaler and an oil.
Yep.
And Steven convinced me to try microdosing with a Select pen, and I've never tried that before. That was interesting.
Yeah.
But it was like lemon, and it was nice, but I just could not believe that it worked in literally 20 minutes on our way to have dinner with one of our friends in Vegas. And my migraine was virtually gone. So Steven's like, well, if I can convince you, then I can convince anybody, and I can do this better. So that kind of started a lot of his ideas for our beautiful stores, and we just made it better,
and then Steven was working with Eva for a while.
So Eve and I knew each other back when she was 18. I saw her in a cell phone
2 years ago.
Oh yeah. I saw her in a cell. Yeah.
Ding.
Here's the point.
Stop it. Anyway.
So I saw her at a kiosk in Florida, which is funny because I was living in Florida at the time. When I was about 22, 23 years old. There are no tall people. Okay, they're all Hispanic and short like me. I'm 5'4". You can't tell right now, but I'm really 5'4".
Honey, you're 5'6".
No, I've shrunk.
No, you're 5'6".
Thank you. She's really nice. 5'4". So I see Eva, and I'm like, she's fit. She needs to work for GNC, and we needed an employee. So I recruited her, but she kept on saying no. And probably every other day I'd go by, they'd be like, are you ready yet? Ready yet? Ready yet? And finally she was like, yeah, I want to get out of this cell phone thing, and I'll go, work for GNC. And she moved up. She stayed with the company, moved up the ladder, and stayed with GNC for years. She came back to Minnesota a very similar time to when I came back to Minnesota. And a few years after that, I contacted her when I had this CBD idea, because I was working in cannabis at the time too. And I was like, hey, Eva, let's open up a CBD store. I was like, you are the best retail operator ever, and you're super knowledgeable. I mean, her knowledge in health and wellness is like beyond anybody I know. So I was like, this will be a good partnership. And so she thought about it for a little bit, and she was like, yeah, let's go do this. And so at first we were going to do just online. And then, as you're aware, the credit card world, banking was very hard. And after I think our 4th day on online business, our credit card processing got shut down. So we had to pivot, and we ended up opening up a kiosk instead. But actually, before we opened up a kiosk, I called this wonderful guy named Craig, and I was like, Craig, I see you have a store. How's it going? Like, is it worth opening up? Should we do it? What's the risk?
I remember you actually going up there to visit him.
Yeah.
Didn't he come to visit you at Superior?
Yeah, Steve and Eva came and visited me.
Yep. It was. So, but that was after the fact that we opened. Before that, we had a call, and you invited me to your grand opening, and I think it was around your birthday or something like that too. And you had a bunch of people that were there.
Something I can't. It's been like about 2.5 years. So
Yeah.
So Eva, you do the. Steven's like, hey, I need someone to help with retail, and you're like,
Yeah.
perfect. I'm gonna jump on this and go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in retail since I was 19 in multiple different locations. And when he came to me with the idea, when I started thinking about it, I got super excited because I was working for a GNC at the time, and people came in daily asking about CBD and cannabinoids and asking about it for pain relief. And so, of course, I got online. I had already researched it and knew all about it before he even came to me with the idea. And we couldn't carry it. We couldn't touch it. We couldn't recommend it. I had no place.
As in GNC.
Yep. They wouldn't touch it. It was too much of a gray area still. There was too many legalities. They just didn't want to touch it, but customers were coming in daily, multiple times a day for CBD. And I felt horrible because I had researched it and I knew how wonderful it was, but we just simply didn't have it. So we couldn't help those people. So when he came to me with the idea, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, there's a hole in the market. People need it. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about the people who have been using it. So I was on board because I saw firsthand, just being in the industry, that there was a hole.
Yeah, that's like what I think we opened in February, and then I met you in June or July. It's been so long.
Yep.
I remember sitting on the couches here and talking with you and with my dad and everyone, and it's been a fun ride. And ever since then, you mentioned the credit card transactions. We'll get to that in a couple questions, but this industry is pretty crazy. It's hard to
every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly. So how does a business like with multiple owners? We're a family business. It's kind of different. It's apples and oranges with friends that are business owners, I think. How do you guys navigate your day-to-day, like how do you navigate through this business together? Like what do you do and what do you do? You know, it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, we definitely have different roles. Eva is a phenomenal operator. So she's really good at operations and working with employees, hiring employees.
So she just keeps you in the closet and doesn't let you do nothing besides talk on your computer? What's that?
I'm a former jarhead, so I'm not as soft. Not that she's soft, she's stern, but not as soft with employees to have a conversation where I'm very too direct sometimes, and then that can come off the wrong way.
Yep.
So it's better for her to manage the employees and to do those things than for me, because it's not my skill set. I still have a lot of Marine in me, so I'm just like, I'm very, very certain ways. So she's a lot better when it comes down to employee relations, and I have a good relationship with our employees, but I have to keep it at a different level of more of a friendship with the employees, and for me to actually manage the employees, which is not the best thing for my skill set. And I do more of the marketing and growth strategies and branding. So that's that's my background. I'm really good at that. And then she's really good at the operations, from like everything from HR,
accounting, payroll, and telling you you're spending too much. And
yeah, exactly. She's like, no, we don't have a budget for that. So I literally go to her if I have budget questions before I make, especially any large purchase. I'm like, Eva, can we do this? Is it a good idea? What's your thought? And then from there, if she says, nope, not right now, it's a no. I don't even argue against it. It's just what it is. So it's.
Eva, how often do you have to say no?
Daily. His mind goes a million miles per hour. He's a visionary. He's so smart. I think that's a huge part of our success. But sometimes he wants to go too many directions at once. So it's honing him in.
Yep.
Thing. Let's grow. Let's do one product. And he responds, but it's just his brain. His brain is great.
I mentioned before, it's like we're a family business. So now that I'm thinking about it, we're kind of like the same. My dad tells me, no, you're stop spending. I'm like, well, Stephen's got this idea where we should, we stop spending. So like my dad is like the Eva of your relationship.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's as much spending as it is ideas, right, Eva? I mean, it's just like Stephen will just get an idea off the ground and it'll be going well. And then before it even launches, Steven's like got 6 other ideas, and we're like, whoa, slow down. We're still trying to figure out this one thing. So it's not even, I don't think it's so much his money as it is like his visions of where he wants the company to go just keep tripling and quadrupling.
You know,
Yeah.
when we first started, even I would communicate with when we were first learning QuickBooks. You remember that?
Yep.
Now I think it's pretty simple now, but we still have questions here and there. But it was a wild beginning for all of us. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you've had since you've joined the cannabis industry in a state where it's not only illegal, but where the federal government considers it? Well, they used, anyways, credit card
It's
processing.
still confusing. We don't even know, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like weird.
Banking, number one, banking.
Banking was probably the most difficult thing that we dealt with business. There was another thing that we can't talk about, but we had a hard time with some internal things that happened in our business. That was probably one of my hardest things through my life, not only business wise, so I think those were I would say my 2 biggest struggles was that, and then also the change of marketplace, right? So like Craig, when we both started our businesses, we were the only show in town. And then after a year, it went from, us having one competitor here in Minnesota, which was all the way in St. Cloud, all the way to 155 competitors within a year.
Well, that's like 10 of them opening up a month.
Yeah. And so going through that, see you later.
Bye.
Yeah. So going through that, I think, there was a lot of like, how do we position ourselves better? We lucked out in the way that being well positioned online, with keywords, so that when people were looking up for shops, we pull up first. So we worked
SEO.
SEO. Yeah, we worked on that from day one. So I think that's what's allowed us to stay above our competition. But then we had to think, how can we be different than our competitors in a space where everybody thinks all CBD is the same?
I got you.
Well, I don't know if I can attest to this too. It's family, right? So like I have to go, but we both have kids and family. But I think that's probably, I don't know what we're on, the 3rd or 4th biggest challenge is maintaining the business with kids. So I'm gonna head out so you guys can finish this all.
Oh, you got to go to see the kids. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I have to go see the kids.
All right, well, thanks for chiming in with us.
Yes, thank you. Bye guys. Bye Eva.
Bye.
Bye.
Kisses?
Love you.
No, I'm kidding.
Like watching her walk away.
Yeah.
That's what I said about you when you walked away. Anyways, so so Eva, what about you? What have you noticed? What are some of the biggest hurdles? Steven mentioned the marketplace, the market share is getting flooded, meaning like the industry's getting flooded, right? They're popping up on every corner, gas stations, tanning salons, liquor stores, everyone's selling the shit, right? It's like Frank's Red Hot sauce. You're putting it on everything. And then you, on the other hand, as running the retail, what are some of the biggest hurdles you've noticed? Like, what are some things you could do at a big box like GNC, but not where you're at now?
Right. I mean, and we're also considered like specialty retail, and I'm used to specialty retail. Like I worked for GNC for years and we sold supplements, and you can buy supplements at Walmart, but there's a huge difference. And with CBD, I mean, you can buy CBD at a smoke shop or a gas station, but there's a huge difference in quality. And that's also why, I mean, from the beginning, we made it our mission to pre-vet all the brands that we carried. One hurdle when we first started, because it was still so new, was actually finding good companies at a good price to carry. It's kind of cool. I mean, you know this too, because you started before us. It's been fun for us to see the industry grow product wise.
It is fun.
There's just so many better products out now than when we first started. Going into our own manufacturing and our own brand, which you helped us with as well, was also, a big thing for us in putting ourselves apart from the competition, keeping it affordable and cost effective. But really, I think what makes us different is our personal relationship with our customers, our time that we spend on education, our time that we spend explaining the difference. Most customers come in and they try to CBD and they don't know what full spectrum is. They don't know what broad spectrum is. They don't know what the potency is. They don't know how to read the labels. They have no idea how to dose for their body or that they can increase. So I think what's really separated us is our attention to detail and education and taking the time to explain to the customers how to properly take the product. Because I know firsthand, if people don't take the product right, they're not going to see results because they're not using it how they're supposed to. But hurdles, I mean, tons of hurdles, of course, credit card processing, banking.
Yeah, thanks for touching base on the credit card processing.
Even like stuff like insurance, people wouldn't insure us. They'd insure us, and all of a sudden they'd find out we were hemp, and they'd drop us. We no longer deal with them, hemp. So I mean, people literally won't work with us business-wise in a lot of different avenues that you wouldn't think of, like insurance. So just having to go through all those extra steps, or providing lab reports to every person that we work with to make sure that everything's under 0.3. A lot of extra paperwork, I would say.
Yeah, it's been I remember we had our credit card processing shut down when my brother Jason was working, and he's like, Craig, the credit card won't work. We just got an email from Square that says, sorry, there's nothing you can do about it. There's no number to call. There's no one to, and that's 80% of sales. I'd say about 70% of transactions, 75 maybe at the time. Now it's probably up to 90-something% in our neck of the woods.
Well, it's crazy because when we first opened up at the kiosk, a few days in, we got shut down and we had to turn into a cash only business for a while. So we really had to explain to the customers and walk them to an ATM, and we would reimburse them for their ATM fee if they had to pull out cash. But we had to get very, very good at explaining why we were a cash only business until
without looking shady.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'll walk you to the ATM.
It was super scary too, because the Maplewood Mall, which is one of our locations, it's not the nicest place in the world. And so at night, there are some people that come in and they would case us and look from like above and see if we had cash, and they'd see us counting out cash. So we would have to call the security guards just so we can go to our car, so we feel protected, so they wouldn't rob us. So there was, that feeling of being a regular cannabis business. And then the banking, we had two different banks, and one of the banks was not okay with us being CBD once they found out we were CBD. So we had to go through this whole weird banking relationship to even a point that one of their executives, who was like on the compliance side, sat down with me one day to ask what we did in our business, because they'd see so much cash coming in, because they were thinking it was something else. And it's not. All
that matters is you're paying taxes on it. So
right?
Oh man, it's I remember when we first opened in 2018. I'm not gonna talk politics, but at the time, President Trump, right about today on the 30th, legalized hemp federally, which helped us with our 2018 taxes moving forward, because that federal tax law, Stephen, remember that 281 or whatever it was called, where we couldn't write off cost of goods sold. You could only write off square footage. I mean, it was a whole different animal, and there's no accountant around here that is cannabis friendly to handle that. You don't have to go to Colorado. But now that he did that, we were able to, right, perfect timing. Oh my, that was kind of crazy.
Dodged a bullet.
We lucked out big time.
Yeah.
So banking, that's probably that was our biggest hurdle, was banking and credit card processing, and then the stigma. That term is used a lot in this industry, but people coming in like, I'm afraid to come in. I don't want to be coming out of a pot shop. I'm like, well, listen, Mary, this isn't a pot shop. So
we ask daily, am I going to get high from this? It's still out there.
Oh, man.
Can I drive? Like, if it took a sample, can I drive?
You're probably going to get ran over. Your chances of getting ran over by a unicorn are better than getting high off of hemp. We've grown a long way in our SKUs. We've went from carrying Selects and the Medterras to no more. And if you're a company and you sell that, you probably should stop. But anyways, what products do you see selling the most? And what products in your area do you see customers wanting the most? Oh, hi.
Tinctures is our #1 category. Hi, baby.
You got into a lipstick, sorry. She's into lipstick right now. Then she wants to put it on me.
She probably does a better job than mom at putting that on. Just kidding. All right, okay, Stephen, let's go back to products. what's your favorite product to sell? What's your number one seller?
Our number one sellers is our full spectrum line. So anything full spectrum, for a long time, Siskiyou Sun-Grown was our number one product to be sold, but they only went up to about 500 milligrams. It's still a really good starting product, but it's a full spectrum ethanol extracted. We still love them. So they're still very popular with us, but our 1500 milligram tincture by Nothing But Hemp is probably the most popular product that we have.
Full spectrum.
Yep, full spectrum. And then our CBDA. Those two are like our top moving products. And we have some other specialty products. We go to like 10,000 milligrams, but it takes a very special person who needs that amount. But it's also super spendy. So it's that, really, it's just a really kind of, it's interesting, for the customer who actually needs to purchase something like that.
And you said a 10,000 milligram.
Yep.
For people listening, that's about 333 milligrams per milliliter per dropper full.
Yeah.
I do about 250 a day. So that, that's probably right in my wheelhouse. That should be in theory on a 7,000 milligram, but a 10,000 milligram. And you're when you formulate that, that's a tricky one to formulate because you have to maintain that 0.3% THC, but it seems like you and your team have mastered that.
Yeah, so it's a mix of broad spectrum and full spectrum to reach that. Otherwise, it ends up being illegal.
Illegal in states like Minnesota and Wisconsin, where we're still 1920 here, and we can't get marijuana legalized. Can you imagine when we go to a 1-to-1 ratio with CBD to THC and the real benefits you're going to get from the cannabinoids, like the synergy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So in our stores, our number one sellers are our oils, and I believe it's kind of funny. It's about a 1,000 to a 3,000. Depends which one's on sale, but the 3,000 milligrams are go-to, and that is still, once you get above a 2,000 milligram, it is a broad spectrum and a full spectrum from crude. So 2,000s are limit. Then anything above that, you got to do it with distillate, THC-free distillate. So I think, and gummies, Delta 8 gummies right now are on fire, off the chain.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing, and who knows where the future of that's going to be.
Yeah, probably shut down in 3 weeks.
Right.
Did you see that? The DEA, is getting sued by a company called Chai out in I believe
CHAI.
I'm sorry, it's CHI.
Oh, okay. Chai.
Yep. And so they're a pretty big Delta 8 company. I think they're out of Florida, and the courts look like they're siding towards the DEA, which is not the best news for us with Delta 8. So, Delta 8 is still dark gray, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So, if any of your customers are listening, they should buy your Delta 8 as much as they can right now, because otherwise it's not going to be around anymore.
That's in illegal states, or if you're in a recreational state, it's going to be legal, right?
No, it's funny. In Colorado, it's actually illegal. So in a lot of the states that have legal marijuana, they're not allowing Delta 8. But think about it. Guess who's lobbying? The cannabis companies.
So weird.
Yeah.
I'm just like sitting back, like, who cares what it is? Ingest it, smoke it, whatever.
We've been through this like weird teeter-totter with Delta 8. We first had it, we freaked out, pulled it off our shelves. Then we noticed more people, more businesses started bringing it on. So then we brought it back. We have legal counsel, and they're even confused about the laws because they contacted the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. They're like, as long as it's derived from hemp, it's good. And then you read some statutes that contradict.
It's a synthetic, because it's heated.
Yeah. They say it's synthetic, but then, based on some other scientists, they're saying it's isomer. So it's very, very confusing. So it's in this dark gray area. It really is.
I remember when we first talked about it, we went back and forth on Delta 8.
Yeah.
Like my guy, my farmer that I get my product from, he's like, I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole. And then all of a sudden he calls me like, I got Delta 8 gummies. I'm like, what? He's like, let's just ride it out. And then I'm like, well, and then someone's like, well, you got a processing license. You could really risk your processing license with carrying Delta 8s. I'm like, oh no. And then all of a sudden everyone's got it. Everyone's got it. I'm like, I'm gonna ride this wave. I'm getting flyers I'm getting flyers in the mail from this company.
Yeah.
Delta 8, it may be illegal. Buy it now. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here I am trying to be this.
Today, we've probably got 4 emails of people who want to sell Delta 8. I mean, so it reminds me a lot of when we first started CBD, where we were in this weird, we didn't know if it was legal or kind of legal. It's that same feeling that I had before we started selling hemp flower, especially. It's that same weird feeling.
Right. Eva, do you like Delta 8?
I love Delta 8. Yes.
Only way I use it, I know you can get it in a sublingual, a tincture. You can get it. They're even coating hemp flower with Delta 8. I'm not touching. I want to do the Delta 8 gummies. I keep mine low to a 10 milligram. That's another thing. You don't know the testing. You can send out 30 different gummies and get 30 different, maybe 20 different results. It's kind of dark gray, right? So
I like gummies, but recently I've been trying a tincture, and that's actually been working really nice. For me, I get more of a clarity with Delta 8.
Right. Tell me, and both of you tell me, how have you shifted during this pandemic? How has your business model shifted in the last 8 or 9 months?
Yeah, big time. So, when we first started the business, one thing I had in the business plan was always have a delivery service. We just didn't know how to do it. And so
Well, thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, no, absolutely. We had a platform that was already kind of built in the background, and we just turned it on. And it was the right time, right place, and same day delivery has been a huge thing for us. I think it's the way of the future. Amazon paved the way, and they kind of showed us all, this is what consumers want. They want it now. They want it convenient. They want it quickly, and they don't always want to leave their house. But now with COVID and the fear of COVID, especially in Minnesota, Wisconsin, totally different feel. But in Minnesota, people are very, very scared of COVID, and they stay home, and they're really serious about staying home. So, we wanted to still meet them where they're at and still provide them with something that can help them out. We do have people, that use it for anxiety and for pain. And we were like, how do we get to the customer and make it really convenient? And so that's one way. And then the other was our virtual consultation. So Eva's she's been the sole person who's been experiencing the virtual consultation. She has a few a day, and that's been a really good thing for our business, to show them the store, to have a conversation, to see your face. We still have that human connection like what we have right now, without physically being there. So those are the two things that I'd say that were pretty awesome. We did some advertisement on the radio as well. That's helped, but our bread and butter was really print before. We used to advertise a lot in all the papers, and then give out educational material about CBD so we could educate, and it was never about sales. So the radio thing's good. It brings in, it definitely tells people that we're here and we're here for them. So.
And Eva, you're taking the calls?
Yeah.
From the calls and doing the live. Tell me a little bit how that works.
Oh my gosh. So customers love it. It's pretty much just like FaceTime on your phone when they call us. So I can see them, they can see me. I'm in store, I'm showing them products. I've actually taken a couple calls from my house, and I've been able to help customers.
So like right now, like how we're talking right now, you can bring up a product, be like, this is what I'd recommend.
I do it with my phone. So I'm literally just FaceTime, and I show them the product. I can demo it. I can show them everything. When I'm in the store, I can show them the store. Even this morning, I had a call with a lady, and she was at home, still in bed. It was like, oh my gosh, I took this week off work, and I'm at home, and I'm distance learning, and I'm so stressed, and I can't get out of the house. And
I hope she's not listening right now.
So amazing. And then she was showing me her kids' room and her kids. And of course, she was after something for natural stress relief. And she just had so many good things to say about it. She goes, I've been meaning to look into CBD forever. I never have time to stop. I want to educate myself first. And we were like friends by the end of the conversation. And I was able to, talk with her about what product was best for her. And I was able to take her payment over the phone and send it with our same day driver. She didn't even have to come in, and we still had that face-to-face connection.
Right. You
So
brought up a good point there. Like, that's like it seems like our culture has changed drastically, where your storefront, like Stephen will attest this to, is now just your showroom to show people virtual. I mean, you get a lot of customers, but we're gearing up to just saying, this is our store. Which part of the store do you want to go to?
Yeah.
I'll walk over there and show it to you.
Yeah.
And then I'll have my buddy deliver it right to your doorstep by 3:00 or by 3:30,
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the belief, it was funny. We had a supplier come in today, and he's like, hey, have you ever thought about like opening up on like 50th and France? And I was like, no, I would never open up another store. There's no reason to. I actually want to get rid of all of our stores except for 2 of them and have them as hubs. But yeah, there's no reason to have this many stores anymore.
Next question. Let's just say, and it's happening everywhere, people want to jump in this industry. They want to open a cannabis retail store, and they're going to do it just for the reason of one day they're going to sell marijuana. That's all I hear. And that's not why we're in this industry, but it's kind of annoying. I mean, why would you open a business just to prepare for legalization when you're not even educating yourself? Anyways, long story short, what advice would, if I want to hear from both of you too, what advice would you give anyone who wants to jump into cannabis retail?
Well, if they want to do it for marijuana, no. So the overall cost of owning a marijuana business, I was able to see when I was out in California and in consulting. And what people don't realize is that you don't get to write off any part of your business. You have to file a 280E, which we discussed before, which we thought we were going to have to file. You have to have a certain number of type of compliance, which means your employee costs and the type of talent that has to be on your payroll are very expensive. The cost of security, typically for every dispensary, you have to have 4 people that are on the clock during that entire time who are security. And then when the building is closed, you still have to have 2 on security maintaining that space all the time. So let's say every security guard is $20 an hour, right? Plus your payroll, taxes and everything, just call it 25. You're looking at, just for 4 every hour, that's $100 cost, not including the bud tenders that you're paying $15 an hour, that you're not getting any write-offs at.
I was thinking 14, but they might go work for you now for 15.
Yeah. So yeah, but they're average about 15, right? Your cost of your building, the banking issues that you have, the amount of attorneys that you need to have on board. Usually a lot of these marijuana businesses are lucky enough to make 1%, but typically they're in negative equity because they're waiting for it to be federally legal. So if you're going into it right now, you're going to wait for it to be federally legal. And then hopefully you have enough capital to hold you over for when it becomes federally legal. And then once it becomes federally legal, it's going to turn into what our CBD business went through, which was 155 different stores. You'll have your tobacco shop that's selling marijuana. You're going to have all these other things. So all the money was made in marijuana was in medical, not in Minnesota, because the medical program sucks. Sorry, but it does. It's just terrible. The medical program is making money.
Yeah, why even have it if you're not going to use it?
Yeah, but in California, all the guys that were in medical that got a medical license made a killing because they didn't have to deal with all the tax difficulties and the cost of the business that you have to have as a recreational facility. So it's not super profitable. So that's the number one thing. If you love cannabis, get into it because you love cannabis. Don't get into it for the money. If you're getting into CBD or any of this stuff for money and you don't really have a love for cannabis, don't do it. You're going to fail. So
I think like our 2 businesses, we've grown to huge lengths where we are not carrying the Medterras. I don't know why I use them too. But we do our own brand now. We've teamed up with a farmer or whoever it is, and that's something that but it took us 2 years to find this, to figure it out. And if my advice would be, don't just, like you said, don't just do it for the money. And if you're just going to open up a shop and put everyone else's name on your shelf, so be it. But you got to be a little bit bigger than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you really have to think about it. And Do I think being in the cannabis space, being an ancillary service provider is actually a really smart thing. So if you're
That's a big word.
yeah, yeah. So if you owning a marketing company and providing a service to a cannabis company, great idea. Being a delivery service, selling accessories, plastics, print in your businesses around the cannabis industry, you're going to do very well. So if you look at the multi-millionaires out west, a lot of them own those secondary businesses that don't directly work, have a shop per se.
Gotcha. Evo, you want to comment on that? What would you give anyone advice, or did Steven cover it all for you?
He pretty much covered it. I mean, the retail environment in general has changed so much over the past year as well. We've even had affiliates who wanted to open, nothing but hemp change, and we recommended them not to do it at this point in time because they wanted to open up where we already do same day delivery. So it's just a different retail environment. Online is different. There's still some opportunity there. But like Steven said, you just have to love it. You have to be in it for the right reasons. You have to be in it to help people, to want to be able to provide those quality products. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people look at it and just see dollar signs and think there's all this money and don't realize all the extra hoops you have to jump through as well. So if you don't have a passion for it, like you said, you're not gonna do good.
Yeah, they're coming up everywhere. And I'm just wondering, and we just had an American shaman next to us shut down during, because of the pandemic, I'm guessing. And right now it's probably a hard time to jump in this market. It's been flooded for so long, and to grab that customer base from someone else might be really hard to do. But I give anyone an A for trying,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I've seen a few businesses pop up here and there, but I'm just like, how do you acquire those customers right now? What exactly are you going to do to acquire them? And, the news isn't talking about CBD anymore like they used to, where they're like, hey, CBD shops are opening up everywhere.
They don't even care about it anymore.
They're like, it's old news. So to get that boost, you have to have a lot of capital to really get people to your door. And that's the biggest issue, is that, our cost of advertising is 10 times the amount of like a plumbing company, because you can advertise on Google, you can advertise on on Facebook. And we can't. I mean, we're on Facebook Live, but we can't then boost the post to show all these people outside of our network anymore because they won't allow us to do it.
It's so crazy. If anyone's listening that wants to start a business, don't start it. Just go door to door and sell my products, and I'll give you a commission. We've talked a couple of times. We've mentioned local, farm, we have a local farmer. We won't mention names or anything, but how important is it to our businesses, especially yours, to support local agriculture, whether it be Minnesota or Wisconsin?
I'll let you handle that one.
I think it's extremely important. We're all about supporting local. As you know, Minnesotans and Wisconsin people love to support local. We also want to support the local economy in this time as well. And hemp is fairly new to Minnesota. I believe it's been 2 years people have been growing now. Unfortunately, I've talked to a lot of different farmers who jumped into it not really knowing what they were doing. And
hey, I got 10 acres. What should I do?
Oh my gosh, the stories I heard.
Did you have a game plan before you did this? But yeah,
and then it ended up being hot, or it ended up not working out, or I think a lot of people got into it initially when the Farm Bill was first passed, not knowing what they were doing. Other people did great with it. And we just love to support local farmers. We love to support the local economy. And we carry products that are sourced locally and from other places as well. But we really, really wanted to make sure that we are supporting our local communities.
That's key, because we have a product. It's our can of cranberry. It's our 2,000 milligram. And it's a full spectrum. And then we use our carrier oil rather than organic MCT, is cold pressed cranberry seeds from a cranberry farmer out of central Wisconsin. Him and I we became really good friends, and they even got their own cranberry line of products that I order from them, and it's kind of cool. That's our Badger blend, formulated in Wisconsin. It's the graphic design was done in Wisconsin. The print is actually done in Duluth, but I'll just tell people Wisconsin. Then everything else is Wisconsin, Even the third-party testing is out of a Badger Labs out of Wisconsin. So
That's
it's
awesome.
key that we support local. Sometimes you can't, it's not feasible. It's not it's too expensive, but most times we try to support local.
Yeah.
When we first opened, we didn't support local that often just because it wasn't up to par with what we could elsewhere. But as we've grown, we really have realized.
Yeah, there's been a lot of consultants that came in from out west, or people from Minnesota who moved out west, and when hemp became legal, came back. And so those are kind of the guys that we've been working with, is people who had experience in the cannabis industry before. A lot of the newbies, we don't. Once in a while, we'll work with a newbie who might grow flower, and if flower looks good, we'll buy it. But typically, someone with experience. That was kind of our biggest pitch to customers when we first started, is that we're going to be working with people that that have had years of experience. Ooh, flower. Yeah, years of experience. So our partners out at Siskiyou Sungrown from Oregon, have a really good relationship with them. Our gummies are actually made in Oregon, so out of our Nothing But Hemp brand. But finding a good gummy manufacturer here in Minnesota or in Wisconsin, it just didn't exist. So we had to go outside the state to get it made so that our customers would be happy with what they're getting.
These next two questions, I'm going to merge them into one, because I don't know why I typed up two different questions with just a couple letters that are different. Let's fast forward 5 years from now. So we're looking at just about 2026. First, I guess it is two questions. Where do you see legalization in Minnesota? Where do you see the cannabis industry in Minnesota? Do you see us sitting where we are now with new cannabinoids on the wall that are discovered, or do you see THC products on your shelves?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because Minnesota moves very, very slow. I think Wisconsin is going to have legalized marijuana before Minnesota.
That's going to be a hard one. I mean, I hear that often, but being involved in politics and understanding our legislator being Republican ran, those Republican legislators are going to have to retire and let the younger Republicans come up who understand that legalization needs to happen.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I do think the people, I think people in Wisconsin are a little bit more open to the idea. It's really interesting, because we're Democrat run, but there's a lot of conservatives that are still Democrats, but they're like, we don't want to legalize marijuana, right? It's just like, it's really weird.
It's the boomers. They were brainwashed by their parent or grandparents.
Yep.
The devil's lettuce, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. What about you, Eva? Do you see legalization coming? I mean,
it's hopeful, but hard to say, because Minnesota does move so slow. I mean, I know they've introduced it a couple times and it hasn't gone anywhere. So hard to say if it's going to happen within the next 5 years. I guess we'll see. We've got, new president coming in, and, a lot of that's changing right now. So I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I know it's a hard one. It's a good question to ask. I probably get the question 3 times a day in the store. Are you gearing up for legalization?
Yeah.
Like, well, it's hard to gear up.
Yeah.
Like, I work with all these farmers. All they got to do is flip the seed, and I'm sure we got to go through the licensing fees, and everyone's going to want to do it, but where we're at, such a blue collar area, you're going to get a lot of people that don't want to fail that drug test still, right? That want to get the same broad spectrum product, or the full spectrum that has under 0.3% because they've been passing their UAs and they don't want to fail at work or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I think I've covered all the questions I have for everyone. Do you guys have any questions for me? Feel free to ask.
I would like to ask you what you think about recreational in the next 5 years. Where do you think?
I see it. You brought up a good point. Our new, hopefully, if Biden's in there and come January, I say if, because I don't know what's going on in this world anymore. If he says let's legalize it, I think the federal government needs to set the example for the states. I think that needs to, rather than the states going rogue, which they should be doing anyways, but I think the federal government needs to open that up, because then it opens up the banking. The dispensaries are not going to the Capitol on tax day with a duffel bag full of cash because they can't write a check. That whole thing needs to change up top for us to benefit. Then I think states like Wisconsin and Minnesota will say, all right, well, you gave us the green light. Let's do this together rather than button heads with the federal government when it comes, like Steven says, the federal taxes. And I see it coming. I see legalization in probably 75% of the states within the next 5 years. And that's hopeful. That's hopeful wishing right there. But I see it. All they got to do is vote for it. And then in every other, there's what, 20 something states that are recreational right now, or 17 or something like that. They just got to boilerplate what they did and implement that within their state. I think Colorado started it. And I mean, Oklahoma, isn't Oklahoma recreational now?
I think so. Yeah.
That's like the most conservative state I've ever thought of, you know?
It's definitely bipartisan. You know, I think it's on both sides, but I also think, you know, who it hurts the most is not anything to do with the marijuana being legal. It's the pharmaceutical companies. So think about how many lobbyists that are in the pharmaceutical area that are against CBD, against THC, because now you have all these people that used to be on these pharmaceuticals that are saying, you know what, I don't need those pharmaceuticals anymore. I'll just smoke weed instead, or I'll just hemp instead, or I'll just ingest CBD instead. So we're really hurting the pharmaceutical industry, and that's why we keep on seeing different laws change, even within hemp, because we are stealing market share from the pharmaceutical companies
and alcohol and, you know, and big pharmacy. But it's kind of gross to think about that we won't legalize. And I think that's the main reason, is because of big pharmacy, you know. I don't understand why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just, it's got to end. And what comes with the trickle effect of legalization, the expungements, all the prison systems. I mean, going to jail for decades for a flower that God created is mind blowing.
Yeah, my father went to jail twice. Yeah, my biological father, for marijuana, just for having a personal stash in him when he was, you know, in his young 20s. So, you know, it's just crazy. You know, it's a plant. I've been smoking marijuana since I was 13 years old. I stopped when I was in the military, and then started the day I got out. So, you know, the first thing I did was, where can I find weed? And I freaking love it. I love cannabis. I mean, shoot. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I call you, and I'm usually baked. So.
Or at night.
So at night, I start my day.
Oh wow, that's great. That's great. But we got to somehow team up with lobbyists that are for pro marijuana and down at each one of our capitals, you know, because I have a store in Duluth. So I have a little tie to Minnesota, not as strong as you, but we need to somehow get together and help create a wave for legalization. The wave's already there, but if we have more people behind pushing it, the wave gets bigger, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I think we should start bitching about it more.
Especially professional people, because I think what I've seen a lot is a lot of.
I'm not professional.
Oh, dude, you're professional, but I mean in the way of like what I've seen a lot.
Professional at starting dumpster fires, maybe.
Yeah. But there's a lot of those like hippie groups that go out and then like go, you know, like, oh, we need to legalize marijuana, but they have that old marijuana feel to it. But I think it's important that they see that normal. Not saying that they're not normal, but general people are also saying, you know what, let's legalize it. Because I know attorneys, doctors that all smoke weed under, you know, like their closet cases, but you would never know when you would talk to them that they participate on it daily. Like you wouldn't meet them and be like, this guy's a stoner. You know, like
it's like the therapist that comes in and buys vape because their anxiety is so high.
Yeah.
Like
what?
The hypocrisy is just like,
yeah.
Well, I guess they get anxiety too.
We get to see how much it helps people too. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come in, and if they can use cannabis over pharmaceuticals and different things that can be much worse. Or even lately, I'm getting a lot of people in who are looking for cannabis as an alternative to alcohol and drinking, because they want something to take the edge off, and they started drinking too much during COVID. And this has been, I mean, I think a far better for you option to take the edge off. And we also see how much people need it just for pain relief and just to function. And you can speak for that too, Craig. So, I mean, people need to realize that this is medicine and it is helping people and get rid of that stigma.
Yeah. I don't know how we gotta do. We gotta keep doing it though. We gotta keep pushing. And I love when people come in that are, I never thought I'd try this stuff, the snake oil, and they come back a month later and just like
they can't believe it. Or you see them like walking in without their limb, feeling a little bit better, in a better mood. I mean, some people when they walk in, you can see the anxiety on their face, and then you kind of get to know them. Yeah. Or even, like for moms, when you're stressed out with your kids, I've even given, I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old boy, and they can be a handful. And I would never medicate them, but cannabis is a nice, safe.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm glad you brought that up. When my daughter has a hard time sleeping, I'll give her a full spectrum gummy with some melatonin in it.
Smart.
Boom, out, wakes up, great. She's not hard to get out of bed. She's waking me up,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we get to see the proof. We get to see the people, get
Proof is
better.
in the pudding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's awesome when they come in and they talk and they write a review and they love it.
Yeah, best part of the day. Mm-hmm.
It is. Well, I'm going to cut this short here. Not sure, it's been an hour, but I want to thank you very much for tuning in today. This is, I believe, our 4th or 5th episode of Cannabinoid Culture on our first season. I want to get more of these going on. We'll pick up more subjects to talk about, and I appreciate taking time out of your day and sitting down with me live so my friends and family and followers on Facebook can watch this.
Well, thank you for having us.
We love you, dude.
Yeah, we love you too, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Yeah, come with me to Sutherland CBD. Don't panic, it's organic, grown straight from our planet. 100% natural, you already know. Everything from dog treats to topical oils out of northern Wisconsin. Everybody talking, check the website. You can see so many products, you don't want to miss it. This is what you need, yeah, time to get it from Sutherland CBD. Woo. Yeah, SutherlandCBD.com, check it out now.